I hope that you all are doing very well on this rainy here in the nation's capital Monday evening. So, this video, family, I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. I've just been extremely busy with so many things. I have a few businesses that you all know that I am building, and also preparing for our move back to the continent. So if you would like to keep up with our journey back to the continent, please do subscribe to my other channel. It's called Journey Through Alkebulan. And so I wanted to thank you all for joining me again here at Mahogany Speaks. So I'm just gonna jump right into it as this is long overdue. I have noticed for quite some time now how distrusting we are with one another. And I've also noticed how we treat one another differently when it comes to business, Black-owned businesses, and us supporting another brother or sister who happens to own their own business. There is a great difference in how we interact with one another, how we just deliver when it comes to contractual agreements. The way that we deal with one another in a business sense is it's not good. It's very very disheartening. I, as a businesswoman, I am dedicated, and a Black businesswoman, an African businesswoman, an indigenous businesswoman, whichever you want to use. If you are blessed with this beautiful melanin and carbon, then you are indigenous. And so you are a part of the original people. So with that being said, I have noticed that, as a Black woman who happens to own a few businesses, I made a point to only deal with other Black-owned businesses whenever possible. I made that a priority. I knew I wanted to support other Black-owned businesses. And so I have had too many instances where I could see that I wasn't taken too seriously, or the contractual agreement between myself and the other brother or sister, it wasn't honored. And it seemed as if I wasn't being taken seriously, or a contractual agreement was somehow not as important as it would have been if I were not their brother or sister and I happened to be of another race, in particularly, Caucasian, or any other race really. So that was very disheartening. And so I'll go into particulars about those instances in a moment. But I first wanted to start off and talk about this distrust that we have amongst one another. So I was pondering on this, and I was looking at another video from Bag. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead on and subscribe to Black Acres of the Gambia. They're doing some wonderful things. So I happened to be looking at one of their videos, and the brothers were sitting there and they were talking about the distrust and how they have all of these wonderful ideas and in building up the continent and building up the nation, the Black nation, but they're finding it very difficult to garner support amongst other Black people. And it frustrated me, it saddened me, and I started to ponder as to why this is. Why are we so distrusting when it comes to one another? Is it, because we are, we're still operating in a colonized mindset, as we were taught to see one another as enemies. We were pit against one another for various divisive reasons, whether it's skin color, lighter against the dark, younger against the old, female against male, vice versa. I mean, there are just several divisive tactics that the oppressor has used to divide and conquer us, and they are still in play till this day, and they are working, and it's continuing to turn on its axis, just as the Willie Lynch letter stated. And so is it because we're still operating in that mindset, and we are still perpetuating the false perception that has been painted of us, that we can't be trusted, we're violent, and we're lazy, and all of these other if you will, stereotypes. Now listen, sometimes some of the things could be true for some of us. But, we are systematically, deliberately painted in a negative light so that we can continue to stay on the bottom, and the powers that be can continue to stay on the top, while the other races can continue to stay on the top, in particular, the Caucasian race. So, is that the reason? Or is it also because of things that we do to one another that also that also kind of keeps this distrust amongst us? So in my experience and my observation, it's both. It's both. And it kind of ties into my experience of working with other, brothers and sisters with, when it comes to various projects, as it relates to my businesses. And I have honestly have had some moments where I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't even trust my own people. And it again, very disheartening, very sad. But I made a point to not turn my back on my people and run to the other nations to get the services that I need rendered. So, so we know that we have been systematically and deliberately pit against one another. The question is, why do we continue to operate in this colonized mind state? We have mastered, envying one another and tearing one another down and not supporting one another and being distrustful, and we see where that has gotten us. Absolutely nowhere. So why do we continue to operate in this mindset? Why do we continue to navigate this life, again, in this individualistic type of way? Why do we continue to operate in the divide and conquer kind of state when we know that that's not how we were created, and that we can't survive, there is no way that we can survive operating that way. So why do we continue to I don't want to say openly, but we willingly, why do we continue to willingly operate this way amongst one another? Is it because we actually now believe what we were taught by the oppressor, that we can't trust one another? Is it because we actually believe that? Because it's been rehearsed and it's being, thrown at us from in every direction? Or is it because we believe that because of experiences that we have had with one another? So old habits die hard, and whatever you rehearse, you will perfect and you will master. So we really have to unlearn this divisive behavior that we learned, from the oppressor. We have to really kill, these false stereotypes that have been placed upon us. And we have to now look at one another with a new pair of eyes, with our spiritual eye, because we are spirit first. We are spirit first. And so we have to remove our carnal eye, and we have to put on our spiritual eye when it comes to one another. And really seeing ourselves in one another. It's like when we see one another, we automatically put up this guard, like, oh, here we go, I'm dealing with this I have to deal with this brother or this sister. And it's kind of like this daunting task, that we try to avoid at all costs. And when we just have to, when we have to deal with one another, it's very draining, and it's very negative, and it doesn't have to be that way. So we again have to rewire our minds, okay? And we have to cleanse our hearts and our spirits of all of that negativity, of all of that evil that was taught to us by our oppressor as it relates to one another. Because ultimately, if you think of your sister and brother as being, untrustworthy, as being lazy, as being ignorant, good for nothing, and all these other, negative, titles and epithets that, we have been taught, you are actually also looking at yourself that way, because your sister and your brother are a reflection of you. And that is something that we just fail to realize, that when we were created as one. And I'm just going to have to give it to you raw. We will not regain our power until we learn to unite as one. That is how we were able to rule the entire planet, because we were one. And I don't comprehend why this is so hard for us to understand. It's very simple. So that's number one. We have to eradicate the colonized mind. Okay? We have to see ourselves in one another. But there's a flip side, and that is our experiences with one another being negative, and unproductive. That also helps to kind of justify, you know, the divisiveness, you know, of that we were taught by the oppressor. So, you know, we already have this, you know, stereotype ingrained in our minds as it relates to one another. And then when we decide to do business with one another, or, you know, have encounters with one another, they are negative and they are unproductive, you know, disrespectful, and that, again, it solidifies that that learned behavior, or excuse me, that learned mindset, you know, that colonized mindset, you know, that you know, we are lazy, or, you know, or all of those stereotypes that we have been taught about one another, those divisive tactics that we have been taught. It solidifies that when we interact with one another, and each time is unsuccessful. And so I will speak about my own experiences. Okay, so as you all know, I own an online retail store, Ivrit Royalty. I also just started 2 other small businesses, and I am not going to disclose them at this juncture until everything is up and running, but I'm really excited. But however, there are lots of things that have to be done when you start a business. And so number one, you know, after you know, legitimize the business by, you know, registering it, you know, with the state or, you know, city that you reside in, or you plan on, you know, you plan on having your business in, or as the corporate office of your business, you then have to start branding yourself, and you have to start marketing and getting your product out there, and getting, you know, your business out there to the masses. And so of course you have to get, you know, your logo done, and then, you know, there's websites that have to be done, and lots of other marketing materials. And so I made a conscious, like, effort to only work with my sisters and brothers who, you know, my sisters and brothers, so that they can, you know, help me brand my business and help me build my website. And I was very, like, excited about that, you know, and I had this whole big picture, you know, of just any service that I needed, you know, just working with my brothers and sisters and employing them, and you know, us really helping each other out. I'm building their business by you know, soliciting them for their services and employing them, and they're helping me by providing the service. And so I know that we are all extremely talented, and there's a sea of Black brothers and sisters who just need an opportunity. And so I, again, went to, you know, my brothers and sisters to get some logos done, and some other branding things and marketing materials done for my businesses. And most of the encounters were very, very disappointing. I am very serious when it comes to business, whether it's my business. When I was in corporate America, I was about my business. Always have been about my business. My work is a part of my brand. And so I made a point to make sure that my work was impeccable. And so, of course, quite naturally, when it came to my own business, I operate in the same way, if not, you know, just even on a higher level, because I want everything to be, you know, professional, and I want things done in a very timely and efficient manner. I want people to honor timelines and contracts. And so I made sure that I held up my end of the bargain. And of course, when you, let's say, I'm hiring someone to do, a logo for, case in point, a logo for one of my new businesses. And of course, there is a contractual agreement that in that agreement that includes in that agreement a timeline as to when the logo, first of all, the first draft, when that is supposed to be completed so that it can be presented to me, and then I can let the designer know if there are any changes that I desire. And then after that, excuse me, y'all, the lighting is making me so hot. So excuse me, I'm gonna have to get my little fan here that my former coworker brought me from Ghana last year. But yeah, so feels so great. Okay, so yes, so after the any edits are discussed, then there is a final delivery date, a final date of delivery. And I tell you guys, not once, but twice, okay, the timeline was not honored. It was not honored. And I'm a very understanding person, but again, I'm also about my business, and I'm also about professionalism, and I'm also about communication. Very important. If you know that you're not going to be able to deliver on time, it would behoove you to let me know. A simple call, a simple email, letting me know, hello, Mahogany, unfortunately, this is happening. And of course, be very specific about why you can't deliver on time and honor the contractual agreement between the pair of us. And I will not be able to deliver on this date. However, I will be able to deliver the logo on this particular date at this particular time. I didn't get that. I cannot stand when adults cannot communicate, especially if you call yourself running a business. How on earth do you plan on staying in business and being able to interact with various people in the business, whether in your business and other businesses, just interacting with other business people, and you can't even clearly communicate? I don't comprehend that. Just simple things. And then I had to sort of micromanage. I can't stand doing that because I don't like when people micromanage me. Matter of fact, it's unnecessary. I've never had to be micromanaged because I'm always about my business. If I have a deadline, I always made a point to make sure that I had whatever it was that I was supposed to deliver before the deadline. I stayed ready. I really did. I worked extremely hard. Again, my work is my brand. So I had to kind of micromanage this person, and constantly, call them and type, well, it's, they'll, and that's another thing. You already didn't communicate with me. I had to reach out to you in order for you to tell me that you weren't going to be able to honor our contractual agreement, a delivery date that is in our contract. And then you tell me a date and a time, and you still can't deliver on that, in that particular time frame that you set for yourself, that you stated. Again, I was understanding, gave a pass. Okay, no problem. So when do you think that you'll be able to deliver this? Will you be able to deliver it on this day at this time? Oh yes, I can do that. And here is the day and there is the time, and I still don't have my logo. And the thing that really annoyed me the most is this person, you're all about, okay, yeah, so when can you make the payment? When can you make the payment? And I'm like, hold on here. I need to make sure that we both see eye to eye. I need to make sure that you understand exactly what it is that I am requiring for my logo, and that, there are no issues with you understanding what I am asking you to do. So we need to make sure that we are on the same page before you are so concerned about receiving payment. Payment is not an issue for me. I'm going to make sure that you get paid. You will never have to remind me of that. I'm about my business. And so, yeah. So, I always pay, I pay a certain amount up front, and not unless I know, there's only one person that I just paid everything, up front. Okay. But as of recent, I pay them a certain amount up front as a deposit, and then the rest after the final logo has been, delivered to me. So yes, I mean, and I'm just like, and then, you call the person you're because they aren't honoring the second delivery date or time that they set for themselves, and you're calling them or you're emailing them and they're acting like you are bothering them. I don't comprehend that. I don't comprehend it. I'm bothering you because you set a deadline. Okay, the second deadline you set for yourself that you cannot honor, and I'm bothering you. And then you don't even understand how this is causing an issue for me and my business, because once that logo is delivered to me, I have already, what the person did not understand is that I have already set a date with the manufacturer to have the logo delivered to them so that they can do my packaging. So this person, this brother or sister being, late on the delivery of the logo, it impacts my whole business launch timeline. And it's not okay. And we have to do better. We have to be more respectful. And I just couldn't help but think, wow, if they were not dealing with me, if they were dealing with any other nation, would they have treated me this way? Would they, would this be the outcome? Would they have totally disregarded our contractual agreement, our timeline set in our contract? Would they have given that person attitude if they weren't able to deliver? Would that other, would the person from that other nation would they have had to reach out to them as opposed to this person, this brother or sister reaching out to the person that hired them to do the job? Professionalism, but first and foremost, respect. Respect. So I dealt with that just as of recent, 2 different people. So of course I didn't work with that other person again. And so then I had it happen yet again. And I'm just like, come on, people, we have to do better. And for a moment, I have to be honest. I sat and thought, do I want to do this? I know that I could go to the other nations and I know that they would deliver. I know that they will deliver. I know that it will be, a very professional experience. I know it wouldn't look anything like this. It wouldn't look anything like this. But I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to learn what I need to learn from this, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to continue to seek out Black talent, other Black business owners, brothers and sisters, to render services for my business, and so that I can showcase their talent, and so that they can help me brand my business and build my business. I will not abandon my people. I will not. I'll just find another brother or sister who does understand business 101. Who can honor a contractual agreement and a timeline. Who does respect me first and foremost as their sister, and who truly cares about my business, and who truly wants to see me succeed. And because they want to see me succeed, and because they respect me, and because they see themselves in me, they make sure that they honor our agreement. They make sure that they deliver on time. They make sure that they communicate if there are any unforeseen issues that I need to be aware of. So it's twofold. It's twofold. And we have to do better. But I am not discouraged. I don't want you to be discouraged. We have to come together. That is the only way that we're going to be able to regain our rightful place. That is the only other way that we're going to regain our power. We deserve it. We've been through so much. And hopefully in all of the trauma that we have experienced, we have learned our lessons. Because we can't blame it all on the oppressor. We were already broken. Something was already broken before they even came on the scene. So hopefully we've learned our lesson, but let's look at one another. Let's eradicate that colonized mind. Kill it now today. Today. Do not believe what you've been taught about your sister and brother. That love that you feel for yourself, that respect that you feel for yourself, that admiration that you feel for yourself, that is also what you need to feel for your brother and sister. And I know a lot of us still have a long way to go with our self-development. There is a lot of us still have a lot of self-work to do. But we have to love and support each other through that process. We cannot abandon one another. But we have to interact with one another in a respectful, loving way. We can trust one another. We are trustworthy. We are. We're the original people. We rule this entire planet. It belongs to us. We got to fix ourselves. We've got to fix ourselves. Why are you comfortable with the crumbs? I was watching a video, and a sister, she was so excited about her luxury apartment, and she was saying, this is not for, the little people, so if you will. And again, I'm not quoting her verbatim, I'm just summarizing. Essentially, she was saying, get your money up, get your paper up, and this is not, for the small money, you know. And I'm just like, so you are excited to be paying for this luxury apartment that cost you few thousand, you know, I guess, you know, maybe 1,000 or so, or a few thousand, I don't know, too much to be paying in a month in your own country, continent, on your own continent that belongs to you. Like the whole continent belongs to us. And we have adopted this Western mindset that because we have this, you know, luxury apartment, that somehow makes us big and better than our brother and sister who can't afford that. And most likely you can't afford it either. But you're excited about that. But the whole continent is yours. The resources belongs to you. And you're excited about paying rent for a luxury apartment inside of a continent and land that belongs to you. You don't even know how wealthy you are, and you're settling for crumbs and pennies. But we have got to do better. We have got to do better. Oh, we have to. We must. It's the only way. Unite, unite, unite as one. Unity. It is the only way that we are going to rise, that we are going to get our power back. It is the truth. That is the truth. So we might as well start loving each other, because don't nobody else love us. So we might as well love each other. You know how forgiving we are towards these, any other nation, we're so forgiving. But your sister will look at you, or you think that your sister looked at you wrong or offended you in some way, and you won't speak to her for years. But you'll forgive someone from the other nations just like that. No problem. Come on, people. Come on, my people. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. Stop, stop, stop operating in the colonized mind state. Stop participating in the game of divisiveness. Stop it. It is not who we are. We are one. Peace, love, and light.